Tonight on CTV, hear about a heated debate between the ASCSU's presidential candidates.
I'm going to make sure everybody knows what ASCSU is, what ASCSU does, and what ASCSU can do.
Like I said, I'm the only candidate that has spoken to City Council about U+2.
Right now, all we need is that push to get rid of U+2.
Then hear about where the fate of TikTok currently lies.
And is anybody's March Madness bracket still doing okay during this year of upsets?
All that and more starting right now.
Good evening, Rams. I'm Naomi Hilmer.
And I'm Bella Walser. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our top stories tonight: after 2 years, one of the most violent deaths related to domestic violence in Fort Collins has come to an end.
18-year-old Danielle Hopton finally got justice after she was beaten to death by her ex-boyfriend, Stephen McNeil. On February 6th, the two met at a friend's apartment, and it was in the parking lot where McNeil beat Hopton to death.
The judge said that by the time medical personnel arrived on the scene, Hopton was almost unrecognizable.
McNeil pled guilty to a second-degree murder and assault. The assault charge was back in December of 2020. That also involved Hopton. McNeil will spend almost 50 years behind bars.
Hopton's family has spoken publicly about the absence Danielle's death has caused them.
Her family said that she was gorgeous, selfless, caring, loving, and kind. Danielle spent most of her time volunteering for the Larimer County Humane Society and had a passion for animals. Her mother said that she was set to graduate from CSU in the spring of 2024.
Fort Collins police also arrested a serial robber in northern Colorado. But what police services did not expect was that this suspect is a teenager.
That's right. A teenage boy is currently facing 5 felonies and 2 misdemeanors. The suspect used a BB gun to steal a car and rob 2 gas stations within the area.
The unidentified teen was apprehended by police after crashing a car near Riverside and Mulberry. The suspect threatened a woman to get in the car shortly after crashing it and took off on foot until caught. They are now booked in Larimer County Jail. Now we are going to pass it over to our weather forecaster, Adam Carlson, to hear about this week's wild weather.
Thanks, guys. Colorado is known for its hectic weather, and tonight is no exception. So let's jump right in. Current conditions, we just have 51 degrees, and it's a bit cloudy out, with humidity at 36 and wind at 15 miles per hour. Now, on Monday, many students woke up to an unexpected surprise. Monday's snow day was a shock to many as we got 10 inches of snow in some parts of Fort Collins. However, as the week progressed, the snow was quick to begin melting, granting us the 60-degree weather we had today. Now, overnight lows is very chaotic, so we're going to use this as a quick way to run down all the weather warnings in Colorado. AQ stands for air quality, and that just means that you should be aware of what the air is in your area. The red labels mean red flag warning, low humidity, high winds, and the fire watches in Colorado Springs and Lamar mean just more extreme versions of that with even more dry weather and windier weather. In both Lamar and Alamosa, we see dust storm warnings, meaning that your visibility could be as low as a quarter mile, and it's just a little sketchy outside with all that dust in the air. Finally, in Vail and Telluride, we have some winter weather warnings, just to stay alert with how much snow you could be expecting. Craig's at 23, and Fort Collins and Sterling also are not suffering from any of these warnings. Now, tomorrow's forecast, we have 51 as our high, 29 as our low. It's going to be fairly windy tomorrow. Not as bad as some of the other spots in Colorado, but 26 miles per hour is about what we can expect, with 44% humidity and sunset at 7:24. Now, heading into the weekend, we can see that Saturday and Sunday are actually really nice out. 60s as our high, 30s as our low, and nice and sunny out. Monday, 59, so a little colder and a bit cloudier. And then Tuesday, that snow is going to return, but Wednesday, hopefully things will start heating up for the rest of that week. And that brings me to the end of my weather forecast for you all tonight. Despite Colorado's hectic weather all across the state, Fort Collins seems to be having one of the best weekends yet. Stay safe, Rams.
Thanks, Adam. We have breaking news coming out of the ASCSU Senate chamber. Speaker of the Senate and presidential candidate Nicholas DeSalvo has stepped down as Speaker of the Senate. Claims were made against DeSalvo surrounding ableism. An event was planned without the proper accommodations set in place for students with disabilities. Furthermore, DeSalvo did not send out the weekly newsletter via email. Instead, he put all materials in the ASCSU Slack channel, meaning not everyone had access to the documents for the meeting. DeSalvo discussed the issues and willingly stepped down as Speaker. Let's take a look.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I will step down as chair willingly. The 48-hour rule is an arbitrary rule that this body has set up. There's no federal law in the ADA.
Point of order. It is an official accommodation for students with disabilities. You are discriminating against people with disabilities by trying to argue this. This is the precedent set. If you would like to dispute this, you may take it up with the Student Disability Center.
DeSalvo will still be running for president of the ASCSU.
Abolishing U+2, diversity, and napping stations on campus. These were some of the hottest topics during last night's ASCSU debate. Presidential candidates Nicholas DeSalvo, Mia Ritter, Rithik Correa, and Ashton Duffield participated in the annual presidential debate last night to advocate for their candidacy alongside vice presidential running mates. The Associated Students of Colorado State University, or ASCSU, controls millions of dollars of student fees and has a large impact on the university as a whole. But one of the key issues during their presidential debate this week was students' lack of knowledge over the student government.
I'm going to make sure everybody knows what ASCSU is, what ASCSU does, and what ASCSU can do.
Despite this, each candidate strives to be the voice of the students and make changes to better the community. This includes U+2.
Like I said, I'm the only candidate that has spoken to City Council about U+2.
Right now, all we need is that push to get rid of U+2.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Not just my own identities that are important, and it's all of our SDPS offices, and that's something I've had a lot of collaboration with.
And mental and physical health.
It starts for advocating for better rotations for counselors.
How to help whoever it is that we are helping get the napping stations.
I am the most well-versed in what mental health resources we have on campus.
The vice presidents also advocated for why students should elect their team over their running mates.
One of the things is collaboration with student fee boards.
I think it's real tangible changes and big projects.
I am one of the few people maybe on stage that have done projects with ASCSU and has had complete follow-through.
I feel like we bring kind of a fresh perspective to student body government.
But the competition is close.
Debate. Thank you all for coming, and make sure to vote on RAMREB through April 3rd to April 5th. Thank you very much and have a great rest of your night.
The decision on who the next ASCSU president and vice president will be is ultimately left to the students. Voting opens April 3rd through 5th on RAMWeb. And while the presidential ticket is a hot topic among ASCSU, we cannot forget about the Speaker of the Senate debate that took place yesterday evening.
There are two first-year senators who threw their hats into the ring for the coveted position. One of the candidates running is biology and zoology major Ava Ayala. Despite only being a first year, she has served on the Student Peer Review Board alongside being the vice chair of the Diversity and Equity Affairs Committee. She is also a senator for the College of Natural Sciences. Ayala believes that the Senate is unkept and can do better about student outreach in the way the Senate handles their meetings. Presidential candidate Sammy Trout believes that these two candidates would be great picks for the speaker position. Throughout my time here, I've seen a lot of incredibly talented and passionate advocates, and these two are clearly some of the brightest we have seen in this Senate, said Sammy Trout, vice presidential candidate. But Trout isn't the only candidate running. Naomi?
Yeah, Bella, the second candidate, Hayden Taylor, is another first-year student studying political science and is a Colorado native. Taylor currently serves as the senator for the College of Liberal Arts and hopes to bring awareness to students about what the ASCSU does and bridge the gap between ASCSU and the CSU campus. Similar to many of the presidential candidates, one of Taylor's main goals is to change the U+2 laws. Now we have breaking news coming out of CSU football. Madeline Davis has the story. Madeline?
Thanks, Naomi. CSU's starting running back Avery Morrow has been suspended from the team, the program announced earlier today. This comes 2 months after an altercation took place that led to his arrest. The alleged incident occurred when a person riding a skateboard placed his hand on the rear of Morrow's parked car. Morrow proceeded to exit the vehicle, tackle the person, and punch him 4 to 5 times. The arrest was originally filed as a misdemeanor, but because of the extent of the victim's injuries, it was bumped up to a second-degree assault, a Class 4 felony charge. If Morrow is convicted, he could serve 2 to 6 years in prison. Morrow's next scheduled court date is Thursday, April 20th, which happens to be the team's last practice before the spring game. Depth now becomes a concern at the running back position, so we'll just see how the coaching staff navigates the situation in the coming weeks. And that's all I have right now. But up next on CTV, hear about why we've seen so many Fort Collins businesses closing. Stay tuned.
Welcome back from the break. What if I told you that 40 CSU employees are selected to be part of an elite council that facilitates all communications across campus, promotes employee equality, and engages in over 20 community service projects each year? That's right, the Administrative Professional Council at CSU has a lot of power within the university. And now the APC has announced the upcoming executive committee members. The council is Matt Klein, who works in CSU's athletics department. Following suit is Trish Torres as vice chair, Justin Schwinderman Curtis as secretary, and Dennis Anderson will be taking on the role of treasurer. The new leaders are focusing on employee compensation, recruitment retention, and to create one unified voice for CSU employees.
As the month of March comes to an end, the Hughes Stadium land is yet to be bought by Fort Collins, despite the university's hope to close on the sale this month. But the purchase is just a few steps away. The City Council approved the $12.5 million needed for the city to buy the land. All that is left is secondary approval of the money to Fort Collins and to set a date to close. What to do with the land has been up to debate for many years. Conversations around selling the land to a home developer, building on the area, or keeping the space public open land has been circulating since 2018. But that was put to an end when a citizen-driven ballot initiative passed in 2021 and kicked off the sale of the land to Fort Collins. With limitations around what can be built, Namur County Commissioner John Keefelaws urges the city to reach out to the community.
So ultimately, once they make the purchase of that property, which I think is going to happen probably within the next couple of months, they need to further engage the community and determine what are the best options.
The city has conducted surveys and focus groups in order to decide what the people of Fort Collins want to see there, but no decisions have been made yet.
In recent years, there has been a growing trend of businesses closing down in Fort Collins, leaving many locals wondering why. In a time of economic challenges, I had the opportunity of speaking with economist and a local business owner to discuss what these challenges are.
There's a lot of hard decisions that you have to make. Probably for me, the hardest is when I have to fire somebody.
So why do so many local businesses seem to be closing? Well, it's not as simple of an answer as you might think.
So there's a whole bunch of factors at play. I mean, it's a harrowing experience for a lot of these small businesses because it always seems like something coming from some different direction.
What is the hardest part of owning a business here is knowing you have no one else to count on but yourself, and then you get your employees and you have to work to train them.
it's the labor shortage, it's the increased cost of doing business, it's the slowing of the Colorado economy from where it was growing 4 or 5 years ago. And I think it's also from like the phasing out of all the COVID era supports that were in the economy.
As the Federal Reserve continues to raise interest rates, more pressure may be put on small businesses.
One of the things that we see is the Federal Reserve Bank has been increasing interest rates with the idea of cooling down the economy to get rid of inflation. With higher interest rates, economic activity slows down typically.
We've also seen, the Federal Reserve start to pretty significantly increase interest rates. That means that the cost of doing business for a lot of these small businesses, if they're operating with any kind of debt to support the business, has become far more expensive as well.
I have probably had 8 different small businesses in Fort Collins. So obviously I love it, but it is a hard town, very hard.
While it is sad to see so many beloved businesses leave Fort Collins, it is also exciting to see what new places will appear.
There has been an update on the future of Gen Z's favorite social media app. The fate of TikTok has been at the forefront of the app's users' minds since the company's CEO appeared before Congress last week. This Monday, Georgia sent a bill to their governor to bar the app from being used on state-owned computers. Once signed, it will be enacted into their legislation. The idea to ban the app comes from protecting user data from foreign adversaries, the countries such as China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia, to name a few. But the narrative of a TikTok ban may feel a bit like deja vu. Back in 2020, a similar ban was proposed during the Trump administration. Today's proposal mostly focuses on the app's use on government devices, but some question the Restrict Act's constitutionality regarding the free speech. That's all we have for you right now, but stick around because after this break, CTV's very own Madeline Davis will be back for Thursday Night News. Sports.
Worried about your friend but don't know how to reach out?
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You can ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR, it's all good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should.
Whatever gets you talking. Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Whatever gets you talking. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. I'm Madeline Davis, your Thursday night sports anchor. Tonight we'll swing into action with softball, serve it over to tennis, and then bounce it back to the transfer portal. All of that coming up on Thursday Night Sports, which starts right now. Before we get started, I just wanted to wish everyone a happy opening day. This is my personal favorite day of the year. It's like if you combined Christmas and my birthday. It's truly something special every year. But with that message though, let's get right into it. After what ended up being a shortened trip in Boise, the Rams softball is back home this week for their grand opening weekend. This is an exciting series for the Rams as they'll be showing off their new stadium in all its glory, hosting the first ever night game in CSU softball history Saturday evening at 6. The Rams enter this one after a tough outing in Boise that they were hoping to bounce back from. But unfortunately, due to inclement weather, the series had to be cut short. If you tuned in on Tuesday, you heard Ruby recap this whole series, but I'm here to focus on what's next, UNLV. The Rebels invade Fort Collins with a 1-5 conference record and 15-16 overall, which sits them last in the Mountain West. UNLV currently ranks 6th in the league in batting average, last in ERA, but first in fielding. Despite their defensive efficiency, though, the Rebels aren't having an outstanding season by any means. While the club may not be experiencing great success, it's never good to overlook anyone. Trust me, we've seen the Rams lose to many teams they should have easily beat in the past. With that being said, 2 hitters for UNLV to keep an eye on are junior outfielder Janissa Martin and senior utility player Maddie Schmidt. Martin is currently leading the team in average, slashing a .316 line with 4 home runs and 20 walks. Martin has started all 31 games for the Rebels and has proven to be a strong bat in their lineup. Right behind her is Maddie Schmidt, who, like Martin, has also started in all 31 of the Rebels' games. Her stats are nearly identical, boasting a .313 batting average and 96 at-bats. She also has drawn 17 walks, contributing to that staggering .441 on-base percentage. While the Rebels definitely have some decent hitters, it's been their pitching that has really struggled, and I only imagine that to get worse at altitude. If the Rams can maintain their offense and attack UNLV early, I see no reason why this series couldn't result in a sweep. We will have to see how things shake out. The Rams will start this series tomorrow at 4 for their annual Pink Out game. And softball isn't the only team in action this weekend, as CSU tennis also hopes to bounce back after a real rough weekend. The Rams struggled in a road doubleheader against the Fresno State Bulldogs and the Wyoming Cowgirls, seeing CSU drop both matches pretty decisively. This was quite the contrast from the rest of the season thus far, where the Rams have dominated their opponents. However, they get a chance for redemption on Saturday, welcoming the San Jose State Spartans. The Rams come into this match sitting at 11-4 overall, but 0-2 in conference play. The Spartans, on the other hand, flash a 7-6 overall record, but are 2-0 in conference play. A couple of players to look out for on SJSU's side are junior Giovanna Babic and fellow classmate Irina Meriadian. Babic flaunts a 6-2 dual record and has proven to be a powerhouse at the 6 singles spot. While she may not always get a chance to play at a large venue like the CSU Tennis Complex, Babic is assured a match, and 6 can be a crucial spot to clinch. Another key player for the Spartans has been Armenian native Irina Meriadian. Meriadian has an 8-2 dual record at the 3 singles spot. Once again, another crucial clinch spot. When it comes to the Rams, 2 players that have been stellar are senior Radka Bushkova and grad student Zara Lennon. Something you'll notice when looking at the Rams' stats is that they don't often have set positions, with Bushkova playing matches at 3 different positions while Lennon does so at 4. Perhaps this is one of the things that has led to the success the Rams have seen this season. Overall, though, Bushkova has a dual record of 10-3, playing most of her games at 1 singles, and Lennon rests at an impressive 11-2, with majority of hers played at 4. Overall, the Rams should definitely be able to hold their own in this matchup, and it'll be fun to see how it turns out. They'll be taking the court this Saturday afternoon at 2 before a quick turnaround 24 hours later with another Mountain West matchup in Nevada. And okay, enough with the spring sports. Let's bounce back to everyone's favorite, basketball. If you tuned in on Tuesday, you heard Mike mention that 2 more Rams hit the transfer portal, juniors Isaiah Rivera and Baylor Hebb. We'll start with the more impactful and perhaps surprising of the 2 in Rivera. The 6'5" guard played all 3 of his collegiate seasons in the green and gold and was establishing a good role for himself. After what was a bit of a rough 2021-22 campaign, he found himself in a bigger role this past year with the absence of other shooting guards like Chandler Jacobs and Kendall Moore, and honestly performed fairly well. With several players graduating and the Isaiah Stevens decision up in the air, it was a bit of a surprise that Rivera hit the portal so early. He could have served a pretty crucial role heading into next November. Over the course of last season, Rivera played 33 games and put up some decent numbers. He shot around 47% from the field and averaged close to 9 points per game. He also gave the Rams some help on the boards too, averaging close to 4 rebounds a night, in an area where the Rams always needed some help. Overall, Rivera had a pretty successful career at CSU, and it's a bit sad to see him go. He can probably find himself in a similar position at another mid-major school, and who knows, maybe even within the Mountain West. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up. Meanwhile, Baylor Hebb was also confirmed to have put his name in the transfer portal, even though he has not publicly announced his decision yet. The third year from Texas played 2 seasons here at CSU after transferring from Loyola Chicago. To be completely honest, he never really made much of an impact on the court and was actually more useful to that Sweet 16 Rambler squad. Hebb played 33 games this season and was even the starting point guard at the beginning when Stevens was out. But after some unimpressive performances and a ton of foul trouble, freshman Tavy Jackson took over that role until Stevens came back. Hebb averaged about 2 points on 47% shooting with about 1 assist and 1 rebound per game. As the most highly recruited kid on the team, yeah, you heard that right, I think we all expected a little more from him in his career as a Ram. It will be incredibly interesting to see where he goes and see if he'll have to sit out his senior year due to transferring twice. Whatever happens, us here at CTV Sports wish both Heb and Rivera the best and are excited to see what the rest of their college careers have in store. And well, Ram fans, that's all the CSU sports news I've got for you. It's time for me to watch some baseball now. Happy opening day. But before you turn on the Rockies and Padres game, make sure you stick around for Zoe Weir and hear all about what students think about this year's March Madness tournament.
Jason, let's go see your room.
How is it? Is it good?
Welcome back from the break. If you have watched any of the games in the NCAA tournament this month, you may understand why the tournament is called Madness. With unexpected upsets happening almost every game, 16 seeds winning against first seeds, America's top basketball teams losing early on, it's been a wild ride. Hey Rams, today I'm at the Rec and we want to learn all about what CSU students have to say about current college basketball. Alright, most surprising thing during March Madness, who you thought was going to win, and if you made a bracket, what you had on the line.
Most surprising thing, probably that SDSU made it. First Mountain West team to be in the Final Four, actually the Elite Eight too, so I'll probably be rooting for them because it's kind of close to home. Who I had winning was Alabama originally, so my bracket is completely ruined.
The most surprising thing was when the #1 seed lost early in March Madness, and I've had SDSU winning this whole time. So, $10, here it comes.
I think the most surprising thing is Florida Atlantic making the Final Four, a Conference USA team, which is a smaller conference in college basketball, making it to the Final Four and now have a chance to win it all. I think that's the most surprising thing for me. Who did I have winning it all? I had Alabama, and they weren't able to clutch up and do well. Shows that they're a football school right there.
Most surprising thing is definitely that all the #1 seeds got knocked out. All these low-seeded teams in the finals. Would have never expected that, especially FAU. It was a little crazy. I was rooting for Arizona. I root for Arizona every year, and I always make the mistake of picking them to win it all.
I'm excited to see this Final Four, and I don't think this Final Four anyone expected, so excited to see where it goes, and excited for this weekend.
Awesome, thank you. While most CSU students' brackets are probably long gone, the Final Four will play this weekend, and winners will move to the national championship this Monday. So I'm wondering, how did you guys think about this year's March Madness?
My bracket is terrible. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, to be completely honest, I haven't really been following that much, but I've heard a lot of people talking about how it's been a lot of unexpected turnouts.
Yeah, I had Alabama winning, and I don't know if you guys heard, but they lost. So what about you, Zoe?
I think it was really surprising. A lot of upsets did happen, but I think it's really cool that we have a Mountain West team in the Final Four, so I'm excited to watch.
Absolutely. Well, Rams, that is all we have for you tonight. I'm Naomi Homer.
And I'm Bella Walzer. Have a good night, Rams. We'll see you soon.